So let's take a deep dive into the current defensive tackle room. I think it's good to get a little refresher before the draft gets here so we know exactly what we got in the room. Sometimes you sign a couple low-key players or people don't understand that, or, it slipped past me 1,000 times where it's like, oh, I didn't know that dude was on the roster because they got signed to a futures contract or something like that. So Let's take a look at the entire room here, which there's Devontae White just absolutely peeling Will Levis's cap in that Tennessee game. So let's take a deep dive into the Green Bay Packers' current interior defensive line room as of April 7th, 2025. The Packers have assembled a mix of veterans, young contributors, and untested depth at this critical position, tasked with stopping the run and pressuring quarterbacks from the interior. In 2024, Green Bay's defense excelled, ranking second in the NFL in run defense by allowing just 4.0 yards per carry, while their 45 sacks placed them 8th league-wide. A strong showing.
Can you say that again? Read that line again for all these haters out there.
Green Bay's defense excelled, ranking second in the NFL in run defense by allowing just 4.0 yards per carry, while their 45 sacks placed them 8th league-wide. A strong showing under Jeff Hafley's 4-3 scheme with a one-gap principle.
Top 10 defense, baby. Let's go.
Seriously, it legit is. It's a top 10 defense, just like our offense was a top 10 offense. Just wild that we – anyway, the interior line anchored the run-stopping prowess, though its pass rush impact leaned on a few key contributors. Here's a breakdown of the key players, their roles, strengths, challenges, and the overall state of the room based on the latest available information, including their 2024 defensive PFF grade. So just want to mention, again – if you go back and watch Chalk Talk all year, we talked about how they weren't really thinning their ears back. You could tell there was we didn't really notice until about halfway through the year, like, whoa, they're really putting emphasis on stopping the run this year, as opposed to just trying to get after the quarterback. And it played a big role in them winning 11 games. So key players in the interior defensive line. I sorted them by PFF grade. I'm not saying that's like absolutely great. I thought let's go off of that as kind of a base, and then we'll see how everybody feels about it in between here. And I tried to get the stats as accurate as possible. If you guys see a mistake, just let me know and we'll get the article edited. So Devontae Wyatt was the highest graded interior defensive lineman. You guys remember us talking earlier in the offseason about we need a 3-tech. We need a 3-tech. When many people were screaming, Rashawn Gary sucks. We need an edge. We need an edge. We were going, let's get that 3-tech of the future as soon as possible. And it just so happens this draft is absolutely loaded with it. So, what is this right here? Elijah Gwynn. Nah. Hold up. Pressure rate, though. Don't come at me with the – so we're not allowed to talk about sacks now.
No, I think he's agreeing. He's saying still top 10
Okay,
D half as a dog. I think he's saying basically –
yeah,
you almost –
I'm pretty sure Clayton just turned red right there.
Because all year long we were talking about, man, pressure pick. Yep. Xavier McKinney are picking these passes off because we're getting pressure on the quarterback, right? I know we're not getting a bunch of sacks. Well, you got to be able to finish. We need sacks. Fred McFarley, quick trigger on Clay. You got that right, man. This was an interesting year, man. And when you see the end result, you go, damn, we were right. We got berated all year long, and we were right about this. So it's just unbelievable. Anyway, 66.4. Rotational 3-tech. Pass rush.
Like, I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry, dude. We're good.
You're good. You're good, man. You're on the home team. We know that now. 2024 performance. The 2022 first-round pick, 28th overall, progressed in his third year, playing in 14 games with 5 starts. He recorded 23 tackles, eyelid tackles. I don't know what the heck that is. That's a typo on my part. 5 sacks and 9 tackles for a loss, leading the interior with pressure. So obviously he got 5 sacks on the interior. That was the most of anybody on the team. His strengths are explosive burst and agility. He's the group's top pass rusher, thriving in Hafley's aggressive front. Challenges. Run defense needs refinement with occasional gap discipline slips. His PFF grade reflects solid but not elite play. His contract status, he's still under his rookie deal through 2025 with a 5th-year option for 2026. I wanted to put the RAS up because we're shopping in the draft for a 3-tech. So let's look at the precedent of what kind of 3-techs have we drafted. Again, when you hear the threshold guys, it's all Goody would never draft anybody that's less than an 8 RAS, right? We'll talk about that here in a second. Here's Devontae White. 9'5" is the RAS, 6'2", 304 pounds, okay? Look at his reach, too. arm length. When they say it's got to be 33 inches, we took Devontae Wyatt with 32.5-inch arms, basically. His 40-yard dash, 4.77, 20-yard split, 2.73, 10-yard split, 1.60, all those in the nines. So he's definitely was a quick twitch, you know what I mean? Quick twitch, just pass rushing defensive tackle, right? Composite agility grade was good. His shuttle being a 4.63, his three cone was a 7.45, and he had a broad jump of 9.03, although the vertical was a little low there at 29 inches. Does that surprise you guys with Devontae Wyatt's RAS card? Is that kind of what y'all were expecting there?
What surprises me is that 4.77 40. I mean, that's quick, dude.
Didn't he run with the linebackers because he was
did he?
The D-line?
Did he really? I think I remember honestly something like that happening. So almost 6'3", over 300 pounds. That guy runs. 4.77 is not slow, dude. I mean that's beating most tight ends in this draft right now.
Yeah, definitely.
That's crazy.
Right. So there you go. Devontae Wyatt, former first-round pick, 9.59 RAS. The next highest graded player is Carl Brooks with a 62.3. Rotational defensive tackle, situational pass rusher. 2024 performance, a 2023 sixth-round pick. Brooks played all 17 games, tallying 24 tackles, 3.5 sacks, and 4 tackles for a loss. And don't forget the block kick too, right? So got to throw that in there. He's a high-effort rotational piece. Strengths, relentless motor and gap penetration. He's effective on stunts and twists. That sounds like Jacob at the office. Undersized. He's 6'3", 296. He gets pushed around by bigger linemen in the run game. His PFF grade shows depth level production. Contract status under a rookie deal through 2026. Now look at the RAS. When the threshold guys come after you this year saying that Goody won't draft one of these guys that don't have an 8+ RAS, look at this. 5.87. He was our second highest graded defensive tackle on the team. The big thing there, 6'3", 303 at the combine, 28 bench reps, pretty solid. A 40-yard dash of 5.08 at that weight isn't horrible, but definitely didn't line up in the green. His shuttle was bad. His vertical was bad, right? But what is it? Look at his arm length, 31.5 inches.
I was going to say, look at the arm length. That's
What would you say his strength is on the RAS card when you look at that? It's tough, right?
Yeah.
So again,
his three cone.
Exactly. When the threshold gods come after you on Twitter, just remind them of Carl Brooks. Okay, so there he is. Next is Kenny Clark. This is the big disappointment, man. And listen, I think Kenny's a great guy. I think he's a great leader. I think that's one of the reasons why they gave him the contract. You guys remember what we said on this show 2 years ago? I think you should let him test free agency. If you can get him back on a deal, great. If not, let's move on. Goody's seen it totally different, giving him that 3-year extension. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I understand player evaluation better than Brian Gutekunst, but the writing was kind of on the wall for this type of production. And when they're double teaming him, that's why I kind of looked at what Kenny did last year as a plus because, hey, he's at least occupying a +1 hat count. The problem is that cap hit was so dang high. It's like, how can you justify paying him that much money for that kind of role? But 3 technique defensive tackle, defensive line anchor. Obviously, when you hear the word defensive line anchor, think one tech. Think of that guy that's going to anchor against the run in those base packages, right? 2024 performance, the veteran leader played all 17 games, recording 37 tackles, 1 sack, and 4 tackles for a loss. His lower PFF grade might reflect a focus on run defense over pass rush impact. I did not tell it to put that in there. The AI picked up on that. You could see it firsthand all year long. Strengths, power, and experience. He's a 3-time Pro Bowler in 2019, 21, and 23, who remains a run-stuffing force. Challenges. At 29, his sack production dropped significantly, suggesting a shift in role or declining explosiveness. His grade is below his usual standard. Contract status, signed a 3-year, $64 million extension in 2024, locked in through 2027. Now, we talked about this. You could move on from him after next year. You could. After this coming season if you wanted to. I just don't think Goody's going to. I think Goody really likes Kenny Clark. Now, former first-round pick. This was Ted Thompson, though, right, guys? Am I thinking right?
He is the last of the Mohicans, the last Ted Thompson draft pick on the team.
Got it. Okay. So his RAS card, a 7.54, and we took him in the first round. So thought that was interesting. 6'2", 314, 29 bench reps, 40-yard dash of 5.06, shuttle of 4.62, and the explosion grade was poor. So, listen, I think in his prime, I think when we got the most out of Kenny, this goes hand in hand with what we're talking about. Ryan Schlip, I will always credit him for this because this was before I was podcasting on his network. I heard him say on his podcast that Kenny hasn't been good since he had Mike Daniels lining up with him. And it hit me that day, and I was like, is that true? And I went back and looked. I'm like, I'll be damned. That's spot on. Like that's when he really shined that year, was because what we're talking about is you get two good defensive tackles, and they can't double them both. And whichever one ain't being doubled, they better eat. This year, Devontae Wyatt was the guy who got more pressures, more sacks than Kenny, because Kenny was eating up more doubles. And they realized that and just, hey, let's just keep Kenny in the 3 or in the 1 tech. Let's kick Devontae Wyatt over on the 3, and that should free up Gary a little bit. Well, they started chipping on Gary. Now what happens? You got to look at Preston Smith and go, bro, you got to get pressure on the quarterback. Lo and behold, we cut Preston Smith loose, and the writing was on the wall.
Yeah, and your time to shine.
There you go. I think LVN's going to surprise people this year. I just got a feeling. I just got a really, really good feeling about LVN. I really do. So, what do you guys think about that RAS card there with Kenny, and in terms of like running it through the filter of the draft that we got coming up here?
I think it's something to consider just in case the dude doesn't have a -5 on the board or a 9-0 that, if it's, they were talking, DJ and Buck were talking, if it's a scheme fit, it's a scheme fit. It's just when you're scouting players, they're just saying, is this player good? Do I like him a lot? But looking at a scheme fit, it's a different scenario. Like, hey, is this guy going to perform well? Is he going to function well in our, wide zone boot, whatever, double, duo, power? So I think that, it's kind of a double-headed sword there.
I'm a little bit, I guess it would give me more hope that the way that Goody drafts compared to what Thompson did, I don't think that Goody would take Kenny Clark in the first round. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah,
I don't think that his measurables, I think the RAS would completely stop him from that even thought process. And at this point, having been able to be a armchair quarterback, looking back at the last 7-8 years of production, I think we have enough information to say, okay, maybe that wasn't the best selection in the first, but going forward, I still do think that we have seen some of the upside, the ceiling that Devontae Wyatt could have because of the fact that his RAS, I believe, was a lot more, you know what I mean? He just is kind of that quick twitch 3-tech type pass rusher. If he can develop his game into a more well-rounded type guy, that could end up being a really good pick still in another 2-3 years, even next year. You know what I mean? It's not like it's already done.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, United Bates and everybody here in the chat, he says he hasn't missed a game in the last 3 seasons, and that's important, man. We talk about availability, accountability. It really is. He said he had back injury that caused him to miss a preseason game in 23, but played all 17 regular season games. AFAM said Kenny looked very slow after the first step. Chris says, Rip Kenny, amazing career, Packers Hall of Fame, ? What do you guys think? You think Kenny's a
No.
I think Jacob's a little more strict than most fans are with Packers Hall of Fame title. I think you are. To me, it's like I have a hard time with the Packers Hall of Fame because it's like, what's the criteria? You know what I mean? Like, you got to have some kind of guideline. It doesn't seem like there's really one there because there's several players I think should be in, and there's been a couple that's winning. I'm like, I loved him as a player, but are we saying he's the best to ever suited up for the Packers? I don't know. What do you guys think about it? Do you think Kenny Clark, if he retired today, should he be in the Packer Hall of Fame? Jacob, I think we know your answer, don't we?
I'm on the fence. I'm not as convinced as Jacob is either way, but yeah, I'm on the fence with Kenny. Let's see how he does in 2025, right?
Yeah.
Right. I do love that he's been on this.
It's maybe it.
Oh, Jacob.
Go ahead. Go.
No, I was just saying, I do love that he's been on the team his whole career and that, he hasn't left us out to dry. Like the dude fights for us, plays for us through different DCs when it was Fire Joe Barry season, when it was Jeff Hafley's a man season. So let's get him a Super Bowl. And I would say we could probably bring him up there. But as of right now, I would say maybe not.
Got it.
That's a great point. If we could end this season or end his career with him getting a Super Bowl this year, I would totally be able to be talked into it way more easily. But in the chat, if you could let us know, just say yes or no. Does Kenny Clark if he were to end his career today as a Green Bay Packer, deserve to be in the Packers Hall of Fame? Yes or no? I want to see that.
And while they're getting their answers in, Tim, we got breaking news here, sir.
Uh-oh.
Our Aaron Rodgers, not the Aaron Rodgers, said, we got breaking news. Packers top 30 visit Florida cornerback Jason Marshall per Easton Butler. Thank you for that, Aaron. Appreciate you dropping that news in here on us. And, let's I don't want to shift gears completely, but I want to know where he's at on our board, Emilio.
338.
Woo-wee. So another
237 on the PFF big board.
He was 182, Tim.
Wow, so he's fallen a little bit.
I wonder why. That's interesting. You guys will get that tomorrow. We'll do a full breakdown on that top 30 visit there with Jason Marshall out of Florida. There's got to be something there, right? Definitely got to be something there. So, all right, let's see what everybody was answering about Kenny. And again, Aaron, thank you for that information, buddy. Appreciate that. Looks like in the chat it's a little mix. Chuck Jagger says no. Greg Rice says no. AFAM says yes. Tony Holman, no relation to Tom Holman, says on the fence. It's funny that he said on the fence. AFAM says first ballot. Wes Robb says yes. Chuck Goodman says no, but close. I think that's where I'm at, Chuck. I really do, man. Deadfish says yes. Mrs. Green said everybody shut up and listen. Packer Hall of Fame, yes. Canton, absolutely not. There you go.
Facts.
Holmes says no. Doug says no. Looks like it's pretty unanimous. Everybody's saying no, aren't they? So, I think I would be kind of like Tim on the fence, but in the end, I would have to say no. So, all right, there's your Kenny Clark talk of the day. Let's move on to the next player here. Kobe Wooden, PFF grade 50. Yeah. Rowe, developmental defensive tackle, depth piece, 2024 performance. The 2023 fourth-round pick appeared in 13 games, mostly on passing downs, with 20 tackles, 0 sacks, 2 tackles for a loss. His strengths is athleticism with a 4.79 40-yard dash and versatility. He's a raw talent with potential. Challenges, light for the interior at 6'4", 278, and unpolished. He's often overpowered in run defense. His PFF grade highlights his struggles, contract status under a rookie deal through 2026. Look at the RAS card, though, boys. He's in the RAS Hall of Fame here with a 9.25, coming in at 6'4", 273, 23 bench reps. But, boy, that composite speed grade was elite, 4.79 40. And then, of course, a great composite agility grade there, too, with the shuttle of 4.52, 3-cone of 7.49, with a broad jump of 9.52 as well. Go ahead, Jake. What you got, man?
Have you ever seen a weight grade of 0.75? They didn't give homie a full point.
Yeah,
they said, you are tiny, sir.
We'll give get on a plane right now and let's get you to Culver's. We need you to drop into Culver's. And this is a perfect example, right? If his RAS was in the 7s, he probably falls to the 5th or 6th. But because you got that RAS card, the Underwear Olympics, and he just hasn't lived up so far. And now, Tim, he's been a little banged up too, I believe, right?
Yeah.
It feels like he's been injured a lot too. So,
yeah, can't make the club in the tub, right? PFF, we don't know their formula, but certainly last season the production grade was pretty low. So hopefully he takes a step this year.
Good eye there from Deadfish. Long arms, 33 3/4 inch arms. It's not everything, is it, Emilio?
Nope. No, it's the only thing. The arm length is the only. 33.
How about these hands?
33 inches, all they care about. But no, it's a lot of green. But like Jacob said, man, we need to get that man bulked up, get him on some whey protein.
There you go. All right,
take him over to Crow's West for a butter burger, right?
There you go, man. Hey, I know I'm gonna be hitting that place up while we're in town. Lord have mercy. That's gonna happen.
I didn't have it last time. You have to show me, Tim.
Bro, the only thing that's pissing me off about this entire trip is my ultimate goal was to try to buy my way in somehow, some way to get Emilio into a stadium tour. And they're not doing any stadium tours to the best of my knowledge.
That's all right.
We'll get
we'll just have to go to another game. That's fine.
That's it. Yeah. But it's going to be awesome, man, going up there. And I had Trucker John reach out to me, a couple other people. Hey, what's the plan? When are we meeting up? We need to try to get together in the Patreon group, probably. Everybody who's going, just throw in the general chat, hey, I'm going. And we'll try to pick a day that makes sense for we're going to be there all 3 days. Now, during the draft, we're going to be doing our draft show back at the house that we rented. So we're going to be doing the draft show then. So we'll be hanging out at the festivities during the day. But on day 3, I'm pretty sure we're not going to do a show until after the draft is over. So we're going to be hanging out over there all day at day 3. I think it'll be a lot of fun. So you guys just let us know in the Patreon group, or like I said, you can email us, whatever. Let us know what your plans are. We'll make sure that we get to meet up. I can't wait to meet Trucker John, though, man. Trucker John has been an avid listener of the show and dealt with some health issues and stuff. And there's nothing I enjoy more than texting back and forth with old Trucker John. No doubt about it. So looking forward to getting a chance to meet him. Up next, Nesta Jade Silvera.
Tim.
PFF grade, 44.2. What's that, Jacob?
I'm just asking for a who?
There it is. Rotational nose tackle. I think they seen TJ Slayton leaving the Packers. They said we better get a big body in here just in case we don't fill that void, right? Rotational nose tackle, run stuffing, depth. 2024 performance acquired in 2024 after playing 7 games with the Raiders, where he recorded 8 tackles, 0 sacks, 0 tackles for a loss. That's a hell of a stat line. Limited impact with Green Bay. Strength, size, 6'2", 315. And strength, he holds his ground against the run, challenges minimal pass rush impact, and slow feet limit his role. His low PFF grade underscores his limitations. Contract status, likely a 1-year deal or a futures contract set for free agency in 2026 unless extended. When you look at his RES card here, a 6.56. The only thing that really sticks out is the 10-yard split. Pretty good quickness there with scoring an 8.11 on a 1.73 10-yard split. The overall 40-yard dash was a 5.16. His broad jump, a 9.02. Other than that, really everything just kind of meh across the board, right? So I think this is a practice squad body too, to be honest with you. And the reason I wanted to highlight all of these guys, including James Esther, we'll get into him right now, no PFF grade, practice squad / depth defensive tackle, 2024 performance, an undrafted free agent. He spent most of the year on the practice squad, logging under 50 snaps and spot appearances. His strengths, a decent frame at 6'3", 305, and effort. He's a project with some tools. Challenges raw and unproven. He's yet to make an impact. No PFF grade due to minimal play. Contract status, signed to a futures contract for 2025, fighting for a roster spot. His RAS card, a 4.12. So when you look at the whole reason we wanted to cover this, where are the strong points in the defensive tackle room, right? Where are the weak spots? And how many voids do we have open? How many roster spots do we have open on here? Okay, so if we go back up and count them off one more time, Devontae Wyatt is going to be on this roster. We know this, right?
Yep.
Kenny Clark's going to be on this roster.
Carl Brooks
is going to be on this roster, right? Kobe Wooden, to me, he's kind of on the chopping block, to be honest with you. So that's 3, right? So that's 3 that we got. If we counted Kobe, let's say 3, possibly 4. But
his seat's getting a little warm, though. It's getting warm.
Do you already count Slayton obviously being gone? Like, is that another full
absolutely. Yeah. Well, I mean,
that might be what's keeping Colby Wooden in the mix right now.
That's what I was going to say, right?
But though, with TJ Slayton's role being more of a nose tackle, Kobe Wooden doesn't even fit that, right? So, so essentially, you could say you got 4 right now, right? So, how many do you want to carry? I wonder how many we carried breaking camp last year. I should know that number right offhand. If you guys can find it, it might be a little bit difficult to find it. But if you look at the initial 53-man roster, I imagine it was probably 4 to 5. It might have been 6, but let's say you've got at least one spot open, right? The void that TJ Slayton's leaving. So I say that because we know in the past, if we had a position that we felt like the Packers needed, they're going to double dip in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
So,
especially if it's a deep draft, like the 20 D tackles that are supposed to go on 3 downs, Clay. I was just going to –
Amelia, what do you think about the fact that, like Ben Holden says, obviously we lost Slayton, but then I forgot. Remember Jonathan Ford? People always wondered, like, why do they keep him on the roster? Because he is a massive – probably the closest thing we had at the time to a true nose. You know what I mean? A zero tech. So, like, do you think that – and this is for anybody that wants to chime in. I really do. Like, you talked about how Goody's been sort of taking the top 30 visits for the top of the draft and the back of the draft. It wouldn't surprise me if he starts all of a sudden you start bringing in some very sizable D tackles towards that end of the draft that maybe he's trying to go for a Walter Noel and a Harmon, a Grant, whatever it could be in the first round or the second round.